grades and tier lists are garbage for improving. Instead of ranking in a vacuum, we're going to look at the context of each deck archetype. That's right, we're going to be using draft skeletons.
So it's been a long time since we've done this, about a year, it's Final Fantasy. What we're looking to do is go through the skeletons of all 5 different deck archetypes in The Hobbit. I'm joined by Dafore, who's gained quite a few more accolades competitively since we last spoke. And between the two of us, we've both gone away and built each archetype, and we're going to show the decks that we've built and then talk through it and discuss what we think makes sense, what doesn't, and try and get closer to where you want to be before the set comes out. For anyone who doesn't know you, Dafore, you mind doing a little intro?
Yeah, I'm Dafore. I play limited. I play bad archetypes in limited. Now I'm also on the PT and playing words this year, so that has changed. So I guess I have more credibility now. I don't know. No, that's just bragging. That's just me bragging now. Let's just do this.
Now you can rage bait even better on Twitter than you could before.
Can it be a rage bait and true at the same time?
Yeah, it definitely can be. It definitely can be. That's the sweet spot.
That's what I'm doing. I'm telling the truth.
Just starting with blue-white humans. So in the set, there's 5 different pairs. The 2 main things to mention here are the mechanic that they are interested in using for blue-white is recruit. You draw a card, then you discard a card, and if you discard a non-land card, you get a 1/1 white human soldier.
It's like Connive, right?
Yeah, like Connive.
Different take on Connive.
Yeah, arguably better because you get a piece of cardboard, right? You get like an actual creature rather than just a +1/+1 counter. And the signpost card is Bard the Bowman, 1/3, 1 blue and white. Reach whenever you draw your second card, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and it gains lifelink until the end of turn. So this one felt a bit easier to build. It looked like you had quite a few decent cards, in my opinion, because the keyword recruit seems quite strong. Like you've got card velocity, you're getting an extra creature, and so the cards that I had a couple of extras of were Dwarven Provisioner as a way to kind of pay off having a lot of little creatures, being able to give them an anthem effect. There are a few cards that do this. Some of the rares and mythics in the colors do this better, of course. But for skeletons, you try and have as minimal number of rares and uncommons as you can. So this seems like it's an anthem on a body rather than just on a spell. And also the Lakeshore Apothecary seems pretty reasonable here. There's a lot of 2/2s for 2 going around. So you just have to trigger this once and then you have a 2/3 for 2 that can attack and block. It's interesting because just coming off playing Marvel, like a 1 blue and 2 for a 2/3 Merfolk was a terrible card, one of the worst cards you could play in the set. But I feel like this might be quite good here. And Master's Counselor seemed pretty interesting as well. Being able to make like a 5/3 with Vigilance without taking too long to do it seemed reasonable. Patient Instructor, very solid, just like 2/2 Vigilance, and you get to recruit, so you get 2 bodies for 1. Most of the time. Unsure about the flying finishers. Like, depending on how slow this format is, you might be able to get away with Ravenhill Flock just kind of going off, because it's not just every second card you draw, it's every card you draw. So you're getting kind of +2 a lot of turns. Will very quickly get very big. But I think maybe the safer finisher would be the Eagle of Great Shelf, where it just gets +1/+1 equal to the amount of other creatures you control, and it's still like a 2/5 flyer for 5. There's quite a few spells here that seem to pay you off for discarding, so you can pitch them to recruit and then use them later. So Moment of Glory does give you an anthem payoff and it has flashback. Plunder the Troll Shores is just slightly different, not quite strictly better, think twice, so I was pretty drawn to this card. Mountain King's Return, you can recruit, bin a 3 cost or less creature, bring it back, grow something. Celebrate the Mountain King has recruit on it as a solid enough removal spell. Eagle's Rescue, you can only return it to a creature with power 1 or less, but if you're making, you're recruiting, you bin this, you get a 1/1, you can equip it, and you can keep using it over and over again to keep pushing that damage to try and end the game. Yeah, overall this seemed pretty solid, and there's quite a few redundant pieces that you could use. Maybe the hard part is just making sure you have a way to push through the final damage. So a few of these last flyers or Eagle's Rescue, or just going really wide with either Moment of Glory or some of the rares or mythics that will give you loads of +1/+1 seems important to the archetype. Yeah, it seems pretty solid at a glance.
Yeah, we had a different take on this to some degree. Quite different, I think. You made a good point of flashback, which I didn't really consider, but I really don't like all the understated creatures that start with bad stats and you have to grow them. I think they're all quite bad. Even Bard the Bowman is a pretty bad card, I think. But I put it in because I think it's one of the cards that might surprise. I'm pretty sure the 2 mana 1/2 Vigilancer is terrible.
Still too bad even at 2, yeah. It's tough, isn't it?
Because it's just this sort of, you have to draw it at the right time. And then even the turn you play it, it usually doesn't do anything. you don't draw it on 2, it's probably fine, right? You're gonna, but even then, you have to then follow it up immediately, I think, with Patient Instructor, because there's not much else you want to play on 3 that draws in this card. It's like, it's terrible to, it's not terrible, it's not a great play if you just go 2 mana, draw a card on turn 3, right? You just wasted a turn to get a counter instead of adding an actual creature to the board. I was a little bit ambitious there. I put 2 Bilbo Baggins and 2 Patient Instructors.
Yeah,
in the deck,
the best 3-drop payoffs pretty much you can get there, right?
Yeah, which are obviously standalone good cards, right? And if you have 4 of them, you can have these curves where you go 2 mana, 1/2 Vigi into one of those cards and immediately grow it. But I don't think that's going to be the case in more than 50% of your blue-white draft. So I just kind of feel I don't want the 2 mana 1/2 and just build this more as a good stuff deck with few standout synergistic pieces, which are uncommons. I think Bar the Bowman is still going to be all right, even though it might just underperform. Because it has the similar problem. Like, you're usually drawing your second card in your turn, right? You need to attack to get benefit from lifelink. So you're not blocking with it, so you're taking more damage. So it feels like the lifelink is just useless in your turn. I mean, I guess if you're trying to race, it's fine. But if you're trying to block and it's kind of weird, it's a 2/4. If it gets 1 counter, it wants to block, right?
Yeah.
So you then need to trigger it in their turn to get lifelink.
I guess it's quite hard to trigger it on their turn. I guess that's where Plunder the Troll Shows comes in, because you can draw 2 on their turn at instant speed with one card.
There's some ways, but it's mostly like quite expensive to do that. So I built this really more as just good stuff. And the cards look pretty strong. The blue-white cards look pretty strong. The removal is good. The card draw is great. ETB creatures are also awesome. So I put the Lake Town Mariners in the deck because it has this ability where you can flicker 2 of your creatures and then restart like Bilbo Baggins or what's the recruit trigger on Patient. So I build it more like that and just basically good cards in the deck.
Yeah, I think Lake Town Mariners is one of the interesting like payoff cards, because there was some stuff maybe in blue-green as well, but like the obvious one is recruit triggers, as you say. I think it's going to be like quite a good one if you can build around it. Yeah. What were your thoughts on Gandalf? I was thinking it felt quite expensive.
I think it feels alright because it's also always traits equal on the mana. And the upside, you only need to untap. You get 3 cards next turn. So it needs to survive 1 turn, and then you get 3 cards, which is a 4/1 at the core. 4/1s are not that easy to come across in limited, even though it is expensive. Oh, you do have to shuffle it, though. You do have to shuffle it. It might be bad.
Yeah, I was like, because you're putting like 11 mana and you've gained no board presence, you know. So yeah, I'm curious about that one. Black Red is wanting you to use amass. You amass Goblins X, which works very similarly to Army in the last Lord of the Rings set. So you put X +1/+1 counters on an Army token you control. It's also a Goblin. It comes in as a 0/0 Black Goblin Army creature. The payoff seems to be that it wants you to kind of keep making small armies and sack them for value, and then remake armies and kind of go about it that way. So there's like a lot of synergy around sacrificing your own guys and rebuilding armies. The Signpost card is Bolg. When it enters, you sacrifice another creature, and if you do, it deals damage equal to that creature's power to another target. Any excess damage that was dealt over rebuilds a new Goblin army. Like, still a 5/5 for 5 that is removable and also can potentially give you back your creature again. Seems like a very, very good card. So I built kind of around the synergy, as I say, of you got Stir Up Trouble, which is destroy target creature for 1 black if you're willing to sack something, or it's 5. And you've got things like Goblin Town Flunkies, which gives you 2 bodies for 2 mana. I don't really care about the fact it's a 1/1 haste, it's just that it's giving me Goblins 1, so I've got 2 things I can sacrifice. Bothersome Noisemaker seems like a great way to just keep making creatures to sack, and also just build up 1 big guy. I'm interested, I think Dreaded Backcloud seems like a pretty fun payoff for sacking stuff, being able to get this flyer for 2 mana, being able to play on like turn 3 or something as a 4/2 Flying Death Touch seems like a pretty respectable payoff, along with the removal spells. And then to just kind of like other cards that help grease the engine are things like Tidings of War, lets you make a 1/1 and then on flashback get a 3/3, so you get 2 bodies for 1 card. The Great Ugly Looking Goblin amasses 2 for 2 and then gives your armies and other creatures you've happened to put counters on Menace as a way to like try and push through and finish the game. Misty Mountains Raider seems like a great payoff as well. Just like whenever you attack a mass 2 goblins, it's probably just a generically good card, maybe in any red deck. And then things that just come in and do stuff, so you can sacrifice them if you want to. So this just like lets you exile the top card of your library and you can play next turn. Don't know how good Great Fierce Bee will be, but if we are sacrificing stuff, then periodically scrying and it just being a 2/2 flyer for 3 might be good enough. The other good payoff was the Snow Slope Hunter. So you can choose to sacrifice a creature or an artifact, exile the top card of your library, and play it until the end of your next turn. You only do it once per turn. Yeah, and the other cards are just kind of come in, do something, or have value when they die. And then these removal spells are just some of the more reasonable ones in black. Gnashing of Teeth. There's a few cards in colors that hate on 1/1 creatures. So Gnashing of Teeth, you can just choose to completely blow out the recruit player, or maybe the elf player depending on the situation, and get rid of all their 1/1 tokens. Putting the Great Goblin is the obvious like payoff as well. If you put counters on your guys, you do 2 damage, and whenever you sack something, then you'll get to again exile the top card of your library and play it until the end of your next turn. So this is quite synergy heavy, but I feel like there's a decent amount that you can do to help that. I'm curious to see where you ended up in comparison.
Yeah, we had the same approach. I think this might be the most synergistic deck out of all. Spoilers. When I built on synergy, I started with cards that are kind of have the stats without synergy, or their payoff is so good that you really want to include them.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really like the bee, and then it's only scrying. Yeah, it's fine to scry, and probably you can play it in this deck. I'd rather avoid cards that have bad stats, because then if you draw them without the synergistic piece, and it's not also that obvious that the synergy will happen all the time, because all these Stir Up Trouble and a lot of the payoffs like Bulk of the North are like one-time payoffs, right? I was really looking for a repetitive sack trigger, and I think the best one is this Snowlope Hunter, which you also included. And I think that card might be just like super important, because there's nothing at common that lets you repetitively sack these small creatures.
No.
And there's one big thing that you have to worry about when deck building and when playing this deck. If you only rely on the army tokens, you might get into trouble with your sack stuff, because you're building up, and often if you don't use your sack when your army is small, you're going to lose value, because you're going to lose all the counters.
Yeah, you might be in a case where you top deck something that needs to sack something, and all you have is like a big army token you don't want to sack.
Yeah, I mean, some cards get around that. Bulk of the North gets around that, right? Because it deals plus damage. I think the way to build this is you really want the Town Flunkies, which give you a body plus the army. So the body is always a 1/1. That one is good to sack, right? Like, and then you can stack up the army. The army is value at the end of the day. It's like just getting bigger and bigger, and it gets a good attacker. Or the discard one is really good. The 2 mana 1/1 discard a card. The card we've seen in so many sets.
Yeah,
it might be actually really good in this one, because there's a lot of synergy with that. Keep in mind that Stir Up Trouble can sacrifice an artifact. So I included the Dwarf, that the 3 mana 3/2 Dory creates a treasure. So there's a lot of things to do with the mana. There's some 5 drops. For instance, a turn 2 Misty Mountain Rider is just devastating, right? Like 3/2 into a 4/4 attack, make a 2/2. That's like insane for turn 4 play. And then the treasure you can still use to sacrifice later.
Yeah, so, Misty Mountains Bulk seem very, very good.
Yeah, one card I included just because I like toying around with the concept of an equipment in a SAG deck, because in a SAG deck I added Crude Bent Blade.
Yeah, I'm unsure how to rate it, because again, like, it's quite bad with recruit tokens and things going around, but as you say, you like Stir Up Trouble once sacrifice an artifact, so it's like another thing you could do. And
my idea was also, because we're having all of these 1/1s, if you get a lot of these 2 mana 1/1s that discard a card, they won't often trade for anything. But if you're able to grow that, you're able to get to trade the body without sacking it.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense.
It kind of, I think it might work, but it's also a little bit counterintuitive with Amass, because Amass tokens grow big either way. I just included it so there's something to think about when you're drafting this deck. And the card I think is just generically powerful is the Gathering of Darkness. is a Grave Digger, but it's a 3/3.
Yeah.
It makes a mass goblin 3, and a 3/3 Grave Digger is quite a good card, I think. Also, we haven't talked about Rever in Howl. Is an interesting card. It's a 3 mana. Either draw 2 cards or target creature gets +2/+2 and gains lifelink. And the reason why I like it here is because often the amass token will be big, and if it's small, you just draw cards. So it's like you either gain a lot of life when you're behind. Well, it's also not always true, because if you're behind, you might not have a board. But it's somewhat flexible, and I actually like those cards, like Divinations in black, more than maybe other people do. But just because it gives you some flexibility, I think it might overperform. Just my speculation.
It's only dead if you're both behind, if you both don't have a board and you're low on life. But otherwise, you're gonna,
if you have to use it as a trick, you can get blown out, right? But then again, in how many of those scenarios can you can maybe just cash it in for 2 cards? So
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like a trick that you can just use in it gives you a completely different application in a game than just a combat trick would, or like the modes are so different that it makes it interesting, if that's the right way to put it.
Yeah, it's just very flexible. I think I agree it will be quite good. I put a copy into the other black deck, but I could see it being good enough to be relevant in both. The payoff for this one is it wants you to be working around Ferocious if possible, and the signpost card is the Chief Warg, 3/3 for 4, Menace, Ferocious. Whenever you attack while you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you draw a card and lose a life. This was an interesting archetype. It felt like it was really wanting a few particular uncommons to work properly, and it felt like there also wasn't a lot of great payoff for being Ferocious outside of like the signpost and maybe 1 or 2 other cards. Desolation Prowler just seems like a very solid card, being able to attack and just threaten to pop it, or if you have a payoff for Ferocious, being able to preemptively use it and then get in there. Ravening Morgue, just a death touch guy that also has Ferocious payoff, because spoiler alert, we're playing fight spells like Quarrel or punch spells in this case. I'm not unsure how good Troll Negotiations are, but it is a way to again grow a creature and fight something, but I feel like Quarrel is more where you want to be most of the time. Wargling, unsure how good it was, but I wanted to fill out the 2 drops a little bit. Gives you a payoff of giving all your other creatures trample, and this one gets a little bit bigger. Bjorn's Hospitality, a lot of these cards that do just play like landfall grow a guy and are a bit iffy, but it does have the ability to make a creature that should be quite large by the time you get there. So I think being able to do that later game maybe makes this a bit more of a reasonable card. Warg Tactics seems like a pretty a reasonable card. It's just a destroy a flyer, and then you got a decent combat trick. You got a permanent counter, trample, and hexproof. I've got the Reverent Howl, which we talked about. Just a solid removal in Bilbo's Deadly Slice. I was kind of trying to get as much reasonable Ferocious as possible. I don't know if Mirkwood Pathmaker is particularly playable. It doesn't have any keywords, but it will gradually be growing up. Similar with Duskwatch Hunter. You don't have to put the +1/+1 counter on this creature, you can put on another, but I'm not super excited by this card. Golem Silent Slinker. Again, ways to grow stuff. It's a 4-power creature. It has Menace. Ordinary Bear, not very exciting. Bjorn's a fine 5/5 for 5 trample. The Wilderland Scrounger is one of the better payoffs for being in Ferocious. You get to just put a +1/+1 counter on all your creatures. Large Bear is just like a very good card. So I felt like you really wanted certain uncommons or rares to make Ferocious payoff worth having. Made me think that this might be quite hard to get this deck going unless there are enough generically good cards in the colors to make it worth it. But things like Ordinary Bear and Wargling and Bjorn and stuff just didn't really seem good enough to justify being here. Like Quarrel's good. You know, there's not a lot else that I feel excited to have in my deck going around here. So I'm curious to see where you ended up.
I'm a little bit higher on this archetype, but I agree that it consists, you need uncommons. And I think the hidden really good uncommons are also the 1-drops.
Yeah, they seemed very solid. I kind of ended up cutting them in the last minute, but just because I was a bit concerned about curve. But yeah, so I've got.
It's a little bit different. Yeah, it's a little bit different. Golgari in other sets is more of a mid-range deck. I think here it actually just wants to Like if you build it around Ferocious,
It's
you just want to get
attacking,
ahead and play it like a stompy strategy. Just and that's why curving from 1 is pretty important. And it's not that it seems like it's doable to trigger these Nighthole Pursuer and the Rabbit, sometimes even on 2 with like paying the mana for Prowler, even though that's another
Yeah.
uncommon. But Prowler is probably just like a really good card because it has this threat of activation attached to it, so you cannot really early block it. And then it's up to you if you control it or the opponent if they control it, if they want to pump or not. So they control the ability. But it feels like early it's a 2 mana, 2/2 unblockable, potentially pushing 4 damage through.
Yeah, it seems
And then
like
it triggers
such an important
the
card for the
Ferocious.
archetype.
Probably just generically really, really good, but insane in this archetype.
Yeah.
I'm also really high on the Squatch Hunter because it's so important to have an early Ferocious enabler, even though it could be that this archetype just ends up being a good stuff green-black deck. And then it's a mid-range deck. And then it's not a Ferocious deck.
Yeah.
And then Hunter gets way worse. But the fact that you can also spread the counters, you get to make the decision. So it basically enables a turn 3 attack, or it sets you up for a turn 4 Ferocious payoff. The Chief of War comes to mind, the uncommon, the gold card, the uncommon gold card.
Yeah. Most of the signposts are very strong, I think maybe with one exception. Well, I don't know. Yeah, we've got different feelings. I felt they're all pretty respectable.
But yeah, other than that, I think we are on the similar page. I went a little bit cheaper. I think this really wants to be,
you want the
I don't
drops,
want to block, I want to attack type of deck. But it's funny because like now if you have the Blade plus the Ravening Orc, for instance, it triggers on itself.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's a deck that doesn't want to stack on one creature because it doesn't, like you're not making tokens, right? So you're weaker to removal. So then the Blade is worse. If it depends how the set turns out being. If there's a lot of removal in the set for big creatures, then that strategy is worse. Then if there's a lot of damage removal, then it's probably all right to have the Blade because like your creatures grow out of reach of damage spells.
Yeah, no, I think it makes total sense here. It's got enough synergy going on. I will say I think Large Bear looks totally crazy.
Oh yeah, but that's a card that you probably also want to put in the Goblin deck or in the.
Yeah,
I mean,
in any
even in it has reach trample. Even on block is good. So even in a green blue deck, though the green blue deck maybe doesn't want to attack as much as the other two.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, you just play it because it's really good.
Yeah.
I'd sort of written off the 1-drops a little bit as maybe being a bit too slow or that you'd have to draw them all a bit too much in order. But yeah, if you skew more aggressive, then this does seem the best way to build it synergistically, at least. I didn't feel very happy making this deck. They've got a couple of synergies. So their signpost card is Thorin Oakenshield, trample 3/2 with Storied. So Storied is if you control 3 or more artifacts, legendaries, and or sagas, then you have an enduring story for the rest of the game. So you only have to trigger it once, and then you get to keep it. And as long as you have an enduring story, artifacts and creatures you control have ward 1. So there's a couple of things going on with this deck. One is there's equipment synergy, where they want you to be doing things like you get a dwarf token, you make an equipment, or you have Dwarven Matic, where when it comes into play, it equips for free to a dwarf. It gives you +2/+2 and ward. There's things like Vow of Erebor, where the combat trick, but also you get to, if the thing you're pumping is a dwarf, you get to attach equipment for free. The awkwardness was that for Storied, most of the dwarfs are legendary, and a lot of the dwarfs have more power than toughness. So there's things like Dory, which seems like a fine card because it makes a treasure and it's got trample, but things like Bomber, who's a 5/3, Ori, who's like a 3/3 that will become like a 4/3 with vigilance, and things like Gloin, 4/3 for 4. They are a little bit awkward in combat without first strike or double strike, or ways to pump them. It feels like you're going to end up trading down quite a lot, and you're also not wanting to have too many doubles of things because they are legendary creatures. I think that this archetype felt more reliant on the rares than others, because there's a lot of relevant rare named dwarves that do powerful things. I doubled up on Oin the Brave, so 2/3 that has a loot ability and can get haste. It can kind of just help you have a little bit of card filtering, and Nori gives your attacking a target attacking creature first strike. So again, you can keep pushing through if things get a little bit awkward. And then beyond that, I'm just kind of playing the generically decent dwarves. So Dane seems fine. It means that you have a 2/2 vigilance, and they have to pay extra to attack you. Iron Hills Blacksmith seems like it'll be one of the better 2-drops if you can get it. It's got double strike and it makes its own equipment, so it'll be a 2/1 double striker, and you've got many ways to pump it up. Bofer, unsure how good he actually is. He's a 1/1 lifelinker, or he's a combat trick where he gives you your guy hexproof and indestructible until the end of turn. Dwarven Mauler is like equipment synergy payoff, so Savannah Lion, which allows you to equip 4 2 less. Stone by Sunlight is both a decent removal spell and a combat trick to like protect your guy that's maybe about to trade off by giving it indestructible. Dane seems like one of the better rares that I'd want here, where brings an equipment and then everything that you are attacking with that is equipped gets double strike. Iron Hill Stalwart seems like a fine 5-drop, like reach trample and you can equip something. Bifur seems pretty good. It comes in even if you don't have anything else relevant to trigger it with. When it enters or attacks, you can put a +1 counter on something, and if you have the Enduring Story, then any dwarf you control that triggers an additional time. So even if there's just nothing else going on with it, it can come in and give +2/+2, and then when it attacks, it can give +2/+2 again. As I say, it felt awkward. I'm not sure how good the storied payoff is. I'm not sure how good the equipment payoff is, and just being able to make this into like a functional deck without putting loads of rares in it felt hard.
Yeah, I do think we kind of just have the same deck almost, except I just didn't want doubles because of the story thingy, and stuff is legendary. But I do agree, if you want to double up on commons, Oin the Brave reads pretty strong to me. Just potentially being a 2-mana 2/3 that can loot cards away, gets you gas. I don't think you should overthink this archetype, because a lot of the stuff is just generically good. A lot of these legendaries are fine. Like I'm happy playing, I'm happy playing a 3/2 that makes a treasure. It's a legendary creature. And then the payoffs are the uncommons. B4 looks really strong to me. It is 6 mana, but it's just something that needs to be dealt with. Because it just, like, every combat is going to get really good for you. Like, it has an ETB, but then it has this Titanisk ability where you just attack and it does quite powerful stuff. But you do need... It's not strong enough without Storied, I think. You need Storied before you cast it there.
I think you should kind of accidentally get Storied a lot in these decks, even if you're not really trying to get it. There's enough ways to trigger it within this archetype that you're just going to have it for free a lot of the time.
The card that stands out to me, and it doesn't read that strong, but I think it's strong, it's Dwarven Shortsword, because it's an equipment that makes a body. And I know it's just a 4-mana 3/4, but it does feel like a 2/1. And then you do also have some equipment synergies. So I kind of like the card. And it makes artifact counts towards Storied, right?
Yes.
Something that I was looking for is a creature that makes another body, so you can later equip the equipments if opponent trades 1/1, because that can be a danger with an equipment deck. If opponent trades 1/1, you only have equipments left over which don't translate into cards if you cannot equip them somewhere. So I quite like the Patient Instructor, but the issue with that card is that you often late in the game will just want to loot the lands away either way. So it doesn't necessarily always produces a 1/1, but I haven't found much else. Maybe I think you can play 1 off or 2 off, not too many, because it's not like really doesn't do anything like that great, but you can play one of the Goblins that makes an amass on an army token.
Sure, just to make sure you always have enough
like
bodies,
body,
right?
Yeah. Because you have access to pretty decent removal in red. At least this Pine Cone Strike looks really good. And then in white, you can get the uncommon, the Oblivion Ring for 4 that recruits. A lot of these archetypes that we are struggling to find the identity for them now, I think they usually end up being just good stuff decks, and the synergy is like minimal, but that's fine.
Yeah, I guess that's the sign, right? We're trying to build them synergistic, and if we feel like we can't, then as you say, they're going to end up being good stuff decks, and it'll just depend what cards are the actual good stuff cards, right? By the time people have got to try it out for a while. Like if Dwarven Shortsword just ends up being a good card, then you just play like 2 or 3 of them and you're quite happy to have it in your white deck, right? Blue-green Elves.
I named it blue-green soup. I think you're diluting people with saying it's an elf deck.
Okay, but blue-green, massive air quotes, elves. Wizard says this is blue-green elves and that it's landfall matters. But if you look through the elves, it's a little bit depressing. A lot of them are just kind of stat sticks, like things like Mirkwood Pathmaker that just get bigger, don't have any keywords. There isn't a lot of good reason to be elves, at least at like common and uncommon. There is a mana creature, if I find it real quick.
The woodland?
And it's terrible. Yeah. It's terrible. So it's
I think it's terrible. I think it's quite okay.
Really? Like, so it's only
like
elves.
A 2-mana 1/2 that adds mana. Like, you don't need to play an elf. It adds mana still, right?
No. It's you get X mana of any one color where X is the power, and spend this mana only to cast elf spells or activate
only
elf abilities.
Okay. Then I misread that card.
It's
my
horrific.
bad.
It's horrific.
So it only works on elves. Yeah.
So you got 1/2 vigilance for 2, and whenever another elf comes into play, you only temporarily gets +1/+1, and then you can tap it to get mana of any color combo, but it can only be spent on elves.
Bad. Yeah.
So it's rough. As such, like, it felt that there was very few reasons to be elves matters. So I'm kind of just playing the cards that are decent. And it felt like what you really wanted to be doing is just drafting wood elves and going into another color because you were kind of lacking enough playables.
Well, I think you're misreading wood elves. It only gets a forest, so it doesn't mana fix.
Okay, it's really bad then.
So it like however you twist this archetype around, it just it's awkward. It's as awkward. and there's one thing here. You wizards are saying it's an elf deck, right? The issue is all these elves, common elves, are just vanilla.
Yeah,
and there's like one payoff at uncommon, which is actually quite a good payoff. It's like a lord, but the issue is if they deal with a lord, you're playing vanilla creatures. And then there's
like
the landfall
the
problem.
lord is a fine card on its own, right? It can just make guys, and it's like totally like it's a good card on its own.
It's a really good card. I think it's a value card. I know it only gets lands, but it's a value at the adventure part. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Thranduil is just a good card. It's tough. I just assumed wood else would find me.
And then there's the landfall problem as well. I think they're saying it's a landfall deck, but all the landfall commons just don't produce anything permanent, any permanent value. They just like either switch power, toughness. The 2-drop gets a +1/+1 until end of turn. So it's rough.
Okay, so this was I actually just don't know what to do with this now, because there's no in green at like common and uncommon, there isn't ways to search up another color. Like wood elf doesn't do it. The mana elf only lets you do it for elves, and the only like multicolored elf is Thranduil, like the rare one, but not very good, I don't think. Like, you're getting activated abilities from elves in your graveyard. There's a few, like you can give unblockable, maybe. And then again, if you hit other legendary elves, you can start to dig, but like the payoff doesn't seem great for playing him. Amusingly, the best ways to like splash colors are colorless ways, like Thoror's map, maybe playing the pony. And stuff like that, if you wanted to go that deep, play trooper ponies and splash multiple other colors. It just seemed like you want to be playing the good cards and avoid the synergy. I think Sylvan Reveler is a pretty respectable card. You enter, you draw, and then you can bin a land and ramp, and then whenever a land enters, you can get this back from your graveyard and just kind of like chain up some value. The Wanderers is not great, but it does allow you to dig, and there was some synergy here with the blink side of things where you could maybe be blinking a few different enters the battlefield cards. Again, I think just that there's like a package of Lake Town Mariners and Bilbo Baggins Burglar, and what else is probably lower down the list now if you're not really trying to just go up the chain with forests. I'm not too excited to be playing this. It didn't really seem to have a good home. There wasn't enough good payoff for playing these color combos, it felt like.
Yeah, I'm suspecting there's gonna be two ways to build this deck. One is actually using Wood Elves, but not to fix. I mean, you're not fixing with Wood Elves, but
No.
to ramp into these bigger spells, so you can do like adventure part plus another spell, or adventure plus the spell part, so you get value this way.
Uh-huh.
Because the blue cards are pretty good. Like Bilbo Baggins is a great card. The removal spell is good. I think you just then need to get the uncommons with. You don't need to go out of the way to make the Tranquil, the Elf Lord good. I think you just play it alongside Wood Elf, right? Because it goes really well. If you go Tranquil into a Wood Elf next turn, you're gonna get 2/1/1s that are gonna be bigger because you have the Lord effect, and the Elf is gonna be bigger.
Yeah, so this is a
The
kind
Wood
of
Elf is gonna be a bit bigger, yeah. So I think you don't need much more. You don't need like to go out of the way to play, I don't know, Mirkwood Meditator, because that card reads horrible to me. A 2/4 that just switches power and toughness on landfall. I'd rather not play that elf than have an elf for the elf synergy, which is just pumping your board.
Yep.
Good landfall triggers, which are uncommons, and I think there the card. I think you put it in another deck, the 2-mana enchantment that on landfall grows creatures.
Yeah, I'd put it in the Ferocious deck, but in this one, yeah, it may be even better payoff here if you are actually ramping. And
then I think the other way to build this is you're lucky enough to get the uncommons that fix ponies and Thor's map, and I think deceivingly the Giant's Boulder is also going to be a really good card in this sort of archetype.
Yeah, I had it in there initially, but yeah, I think this is the home for it, right? If you're going to,
but it's probably going to be like a one-off, right? Because you cannot just use that effect twice in a game. It's 7 mana to destroy something, but it helps you fix.
Yeah, it's also because as you say, it helps you fix, but you're splashing other colors probably for removal, so you don't really need lots of the removal part of this card.
And then the lands are common, so that way you can, I think, get the mana, even though there's an issue with the lands because it really depends on when do you get the bomb. If you get the bomb early, you know which lands to take, which is good. But if you're taking the lands in the Darkin, then you don't get a card in a color that you have lands for. You're just wasted picks.
Yeah, that's why I think
there's no evolving wilds, basically.
Where was it? Hold on, there was a common land that was, I think,
maybe I'm wrong.
Evolving Wilds. There wasn't an effective Evolving Wild Hobbit.
Oh, there is one. Yeah, okay, then it's different. It has halfling cycling as well. Okay.
Yeah,
I missed that one.
So Hobbit Hole can enable this archetype pretty well. I think you want Hobbit Hole and you want the map are probably the two best fixers, right? That's how it feels like.
Map is an uncommon though, but the map is really good.
And
the reason I
don't love this Thrush, I feel like it's got to be pretty rough.
I mean, one off is probably fine, but not great. Not great in a deck that really cannot use a flyer that well. We cannot pump it, we cannot equip it and stuff. Like you could go soup from any deck almost. If we're now talking that we have colorless fixing and lands, we don't really have many. Usually a reason to go soup from green is green has mana fixing, but in this case, there's not much mana fixing in green.
Yeah, all the best fixing is colors, you know?
Yeah, but the blue-green deck actually has cards that don't really care about attacking. For instance, Ferocious wants to attack, right?
Yeah.
Probably red-white wants to attack. I think maybe you can build a black-red soup if there's enough to splash there. Because black-red seems to be like this mid-rangey, like removal-heavy deck that can sit back and control the game.
You can see Jund, right? You can see some kind of Jund mid-rangey or a soupy deck from there, from sure.
Blue-white kind of Blue-white is weird, but Blue-white could be a deck that actually also doesn't care that much about attacking.
Yeah, it could go late and it could just dig for its bombs and fix up and go that way.
So soup in this format is weird because there's no real concept to it. I think you can just make it work out of any color pair if you get the bombs to splash.
Soup is going to be a thing for sure, and I wonder what the pick order will be, like how high you're supposed to take things like Hobbit Hole, and the map will be interesting as time goes on.
The map might just be premium with those draw your second card payoffs as well.
Yeah, definitely.
It's probably just going to be a card that's not going to go late, so you just have to take it early.
Yeah, it seems like almost, well, Most decks would just want one anyway, and then if you have the payoff, then you like really want it. But yeah, so it's interesting. Initially, it looks very paint by numbers, like you have 5 archetypes and you want to be following your creature type synergies. But as we see, there's a lot of opportunity to splash with all the common decent fixing and a little bit of good uncommon fixing in colorless. So as time goes on, I guess the generically good cards will get sniffed out, and there will be a lot more splashing going on as the draft format evolves.
Can I just say something? Like, because like now that we went through every archetype a lot, it's more about good cards than synergy. And even if it's about synergy, it's just like it's naturally comes together often. You don't need to overthink it. But that also means that it might be, or the guilds that are not supported, or is this even called guilds? Color pairs that are not supported
might become
they might be completely
options.
fine, right? Because you do have the hybrid cards, and it doesn't feel like the uncommon multicolor cards are that powerful.
Yeah, I felt the Goblins one was a great payoff. The green-black one was a good payoff. The other ones, like the Elves one is good. Maybe like half of them are quite good payoffs.
Okay, listen. A hidden archetype. Bothersome Noisemaker. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, a mass goblin 1.
Yeah.
And then you play an Izzy deck.
Okay.
With all the good cards. And you can play the Trandul as well.
Just play counter spell control and just make guys.
But because the blue gives you the cantrip, the 2 mana think twice card.
Yeah.
You and also that plays really well with that. But it's true that it's mostly uncommons, yeah. But it could be something where it could happen in this format, I think.
Yeah, the card's really good. And yeah, probably would play best with something like with blue, for example. Where you just
blue might just be blue looks really strong at commons, like the Bilbo and the removal and the draw card.
Yeah, like River's Grasp is fine. Uneasy Partings is solid, and yeah, there might be quite a lot of very decent blue commons.
Yeah, cards like Uneasy Partings are just overperforming every single set, so that card is, I think, just good.
Yeah,
put a creature on top.
Yeah, so looks like there might be a bit more to it than at first glance. It's not just purely paint by numbers. It might actually be that you can play outside of the color combinations, and once you have a good idea of the strength of all the cards, you'll know how to rank taking fixing and what the hidden archetypes are. There might actually be quite a lot more to it than it looks like initially, which is cool.
Yeah, I hope this set surprises me and we get a lot of these off-color pairs. It happened in first Strixhaven, where you could actually draft. So not in this Strixhaven, but in the one that came out, I think 5 years ago or something. The initial idea of the set was 5 guilds, but then you could draft weird Dimir decks or weird Ragdos decks. Like, you could just do stuff. And that format was really fun because of that. I have hopes.
Yeah, but fingers crossed we get some hidden archetypes. Pack 1, pick 1 map. Pack 1, pick 2, Hobbit Hole. 5 color, let's go.
Let's go here.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for coming on. It's good fun to go through this again, and hopefully we'll do more in the future.